It's time to dive into the end of the Giants season. I know a lot of my Giants fans are listeners here. The first things first is the firing of some of the coaches that we had. First,
walking this bitch like, hey, yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like, hey.
All right, guys, we're back. We're really going to try to get this episode out. Welcome back to Net Worth with your host, your boy, Justin Pugh. Thank you guys for tuning in throughout this whole season. We're doing it on my laptop. I forgot some wires in New Jersey. We're back in Arizona, but I don't have a couple wires, so we're not using the camera, so it might be a little fuzzy, but we're going to make this work regardless. I don't have a charger for my laptop, so we're going to try to shoot this, get it out as quick as possible, and then everything will be back, and next week we'll be rolling. I am in the final stages of baby watch. My daughter is due any day now, so maybe next week we won't have an episode, but I'm going to try to get a lot of things out today, and then we can circle back as the playoffs unfold. The show's been going great. We're getting a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people are watching it. Hopefully throughout this off season, we'll be able to add some guests on here and people doing some cool things in the NFL. We got military folks. We have business leaders. So I'm really looking forward to how we transition in this off season and talking about the business of sports. Speaking of the business of sports, let's just hop right into what is going on this week, what's happening. Obviously, there is a coaching frenzy that is going on. You look across the list, we have several coaching vacancies in the NFL, but maybe the biggest, I don't know if it's the biggest. There are so many that are happening, but let's start in the NFL. We have 8 coaching vacancies. That's 25% of the league. Raiders, Panthers, Chargers, Falcons, Commanders, Titans, Seahawks, Patriots. The craziest one is Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick breaking up with the Patriots. It's a dynasty that may never be replicated in my lifetime. What Bill Belichick did for the NFL and for the Patriots was unprecedented. To see a coach like that leave is crazy. But sometimes teams need a breath of fresh air. I look back at the Giants and Coach Coughlin. I think he still had something left in the tank, and there was things going on. Sorry, my dogs are outside right now. One of them just banged into the door. But I think there is a lot of good things going on with We'll splice that together. We talked about Belichick. The next one up, we have Vrabel. Vrabel getting fired, and apparently the owner had issue with how he talked about the Patriots and how great of an organization they were. I mean, if there is one way to piss off your boss, is to talk about the former company you were at or the former organization, saying how great it was. I don't think he was taking subtle shots at Tennessee, but it's definitely not a good look. You thought he was going to get hired by the Patriots, but today they just announced they are hiring Gerard Mayo as the head coach. He's the youngest coach in the NFL. It's crazy. He last played a few years ago, and now he's coaching an NFL team. It just goes to show what the Patriots and internally they think about Coach Mayo. So good luck to him in New England. It's definitely going to be a great job for him. Pete Carroll, 72-year-old Pete Carroll is out in Seattle. One of the greatest coaches to ever do it, winning a national championship at USC, a Super Bowl with the Seahawks. He is, I've heard Seattle is one of the greatest places to play. He had an unbelievable culture set up there. And did a lot of great things. Obviously, we'll see how the rest of the coaching tree in the NFL shakes out, but having those two names dropping out of the mix and retiring or moving on is insane. And then to add to that, you have Nick Saban retiring at Alabama. It has just been throughout my entire football career just synonymous. Nick Saban, Alabama, Crimson Tide. You expected them to go out and win a national championship every single year. Again, like Belichick, I don't know if there will ever be another coach that accomplishes those things. I'm sure there will be. Obviously, records are meant to be broken. But as we all grew up watching college football and the NFL, those were two just giants in the game. So to see them both retire is unbelievable. Saban amassing $120 million throughout his time. His players never went 4 years without winning a national championship. Truly remarkable. I do think in the NIL space, it will start to even those things out. Obviously, Alabama was able to, and the SEC in general, you just know and you hear throughout the years, they kind of had a dark room NIL program going on and were able to pay guys. And I think Michigan winning a national championship is the most obvious reason why the NIL is actually doing some good in the NCAA. Michigan now is able to pay players maybe with the likes of an Alabama, and there isn't such a stark difference in the trenches and a physical domination where Michigan went out there and bullied Alabama. And we'll hop into the college football playoffs and what happened there. But I really think that NIL is doing a lot of good for a bunch of universities, and it's not just the SECs or the Alabama or Georgias of the college football landscape that are winning year in and year out. It's starting to create some competition, which is great for schools like Michigan to win their first championship in years. But yeah, man, I've never seen an offseason like this where that many high-profile coaches retired. Maybe they have a group text and they're all talking about, hey, I'll go on Monday, I'll go on Tuesday, I'll retire on Wednesday, and we'll all move on. Obviously, I think there are still some talks about Belichick still coaching. I wonder where he could end up. I know some people had mentioned him maybe going to a Cowboys or the Redskins. Commanders, I'm sorry. It's trying to break a bad habit there. But it'll be interesting how that all works out. This weekend's a big weekend, Wildcard weekend. We got some great games lined up. We got some weather lined up. We have, you name it, we have it. We have the drama, we have the injuries. And as we go through the games and make some picks, we'll see how it all shakes out. First up, we have the Cleveland Browns at the Houston Texans. A lot of people are maybe not as excited about this game unless you're a Browns fan. Shout out to my producer, Alex. I know he's the only one on this show that's super excited about watching this one. And then you have the Texans. You have the young stars. You have the DeMeco Ryans, head coach of the year candidate. CJ Stroud, offensive rookie of the year candidate. Will Anderson, defensive rookie of the year candidate. Laremy Tunsil, maybe the best left tackle in football. The list goes on and on. The Texans have really come on strong this year. I think the matchup of this game is Laremy Tunsil at left tackle and Myles Garrett at defensive end. Two, probably the best at their position in the NFL, battling it out. Whoever maybe wins that battle wins the game for their team. I think the Browns run the ball a little bit better. They have some really good weapons. I think the Browns edge this one out, win in Houston, but I think it comes down to that Laremy Tunsil, Myles Garrett matchup. Next up, we have the Steelers at the Bills. Obviously, there's weather and inclement weather at the Bills. We haven't announced exactly what's going on there yet. This favors the Steelers. A game where you can take Josh Allen out of the equation or mitigate what Josh Allen can do in the pass game is great. So I think the Steelers want all the weather they can get. They kind of snuck in there at the end of the year to the playoffs. Shout out to Coach Tomlin, one of the best to ever do it. Thankfully, he didn't retire this year. I think if the weather persists, it'll be a closer game than expected. But the Bills are one of my favorites in the playoffs. They're going to be a hard team to beat. They have a superstar at the quarterback position. They have a great defense. And they're playing good football at the right time. Another team that is playing the good football at the right time is the LA Rams. They have won a bunch of games in a row. They travel to Detroit to play the Lions. So speaking of, Steelers, Bills, I have the Bills winning that game. We have Rams, Lions up next. And I think the Rams are going to put up a hell of a fight. Matt Stafford coming back to Detroit. He is one of the hottest quarterbacks in the NFL right now. It's a couple of the veterans that are making some scenes. You have Joe Flacco in Cleveland that's on fire. Matthew Stafford that's on fire. I think McVay is one of the best coaches and has one of the best schemes in the NFL. But I think the Lions are built for playoff football. I bet you the Lions wish they were outside in Detroit right now and could take the Rams into the environment, but they don't have that. I love their defense. I love the way they play. I think the Lions at home win the game. You have Aaron Donald on the other side with the Rams, but I think the Lions have a really good offensive line, and hopefully they have a good plan in place to take care of Aaron Donald. What makes the Rams so good on defense is Aaron makes everyone good around him. Everyone knows they're getting single matchups because you have to double, triple team Aaron Donald at all times. Not to take away from anything that other Rams defenders do, but I just think he makes them that much better. You see so many guys go to the Rams, have a good season, and go get paid elsewhere, and don't have the same success as they had in LA with Aaron Donald because he takes so much attention away from, opposing. He takes so much attention away from his teammates from the opposing teams. I have the Lions winning this one. Lions, shout out to my guy, Brett Fisher. He's the head athletic trainer. He oversees all that. A great guy from Arizona. I want that for him and that organization. Next up, we have Dolphins at the Chiefs. Another game that will be in the elements. Tyreek Hill going back to the Chiefs. Matthew Stafford going back to the Lions. There is a lot of good. And then we have Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys playing. So there's a lot of great drama. Great for TV, great for dollars, great for viewership. But Tyreek Hill and the Dolphins going back to the Chiefs, they have a lot to prove. I think Mike McDaniel is the best young coach in the NFL right now. He's a rising star. Obviously, Shanahan and 49ers, that tree, McVay, that tree is, I love that style of coach and what they're able to do. The Dolphins have the firepower. They lost another key player on defense. They've lost both their edge rushers. And I think in the playoffs, in that type of environment, you need to have the defense. I don't think the Dolphins will have the defense to slow down Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, even though the Chiefs have been slowing themselves down. Until you knock off the king of the mountain, I can't go against them. Regardless of how I feel about the Dolphins, if this game was in Miami, I might feel a little bit different. I think the Chiefs are going to find a way to win it. It won't be pretty, but the Chiefs win at home in the environment. Packers go to Dallas. Obviously, everyone thinks of the Cowboys in the playoffs as since the early 90s when they were dominant, but since then they haven't done much of anything. NFC East rival. I think the Cowboys are a really good team at home. I think you get them on the turf, Dak Prescott, the fans, get that rolling. It is going to be a raucous environment. The Packers have nothing to lose. No one thought the Packers would be here. Jordan Love making the playoffs in his first real year as a starter is a huge kudos to them. Matt LaFleur has done a tremendous job with that team. But I think they are overmatched in Dallas. I think the Cowboys roll. It will be a blowout. Mike McCarthy may want to rub it in a little bit. Hey, Packers, you ran me out of town. Now look what I have. But I think the Cowboys will meet their maker later on. I think they're just really, really good at home. And if they can get up early, it's a tough place to play. The last game, maybe one of the more intriguing games of the year, a lot of drama surrounding this, is the Eagles at Bucks. Obviously, New York Giants, we beat the Eagles last week in our final game at MetLife. And it was a great win, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. But the Eagles have a lot of drama. You have Jalen Hurts got hurt in that game. You had A.J. Brown getting hurt in that game. A.J. Brown just scrubbed his entire social media of all things Eagles. There's reports coming out that Nick Sirianni is potentially on the hot seat after going to the Super Bowl last year. There is a lot that goes into this game. And then you have the Buccaneers that no one expected them to be here. Baker Mayfield, comeback player, maybe one of the comeback stories of the year. Obviously, you have Flacco, you have DeMar Hamlin and all those, but Baker Mayfield was on his way out of the league and has found a resurgence in Tampa. They're playing great. You have Mike Evans, who had one of the best years, and they were talking about trading Mike Evans preseason. You have Chris Godwin. The defense has got some players on the defense. Philly went down there earlier this year and beat the Buccaneers. If I'm the Buccaneers right now, they're still watching this Philadelphia Eagles defensive line, who has perennially and as of late been one of the best, beat them earlier, and they had a really good game against the Buccaneers. So everyone's going to be leaning towards the Philadelphia Eagles. But the one thing that I have found throughout my time in the NFL is morale, the vibes, all those things matter. So if there was ever a team to be picked off right now, the Eagles obviously are probably favored in most places, as you would imagine. I think the Buccaneers have a really good chance to knock them off. If all these stories are true, it's hard to beat an opponent when you're fighting yourselves and you're fighting all those internal battles. I'm going to take the Buccaneers to upset the Eagles in this one. I think there's just too much turmoil going on. I think the Eagles are one of the most talented teams in the NFL, but if you're not right within, it's hard to go win a football game. But with all that being said, the Eagles ran with that moniker, hungry dogs run faster. If they're hungry and they want to get back at everybody, there's no reason they couldn't win that game. But my prediction is the Buccaneers pull off the upset, and then we'll see from there. Now we have the Ravens and 49ers at home resting. I think the 49ers are the best team in the NFL this year. I predict that they will be the Super Bowl champions. Who they're playing in that game, I think they play the Bills in the Super Bowl. I think the Bills have another great team. You look at the Ravens. My only caveat with the Ravens is they've been riding high for so long and people have been telling them how great they are the last 6 weeks. Sometimes you start to internalize that. So I think the Ravens get caught at some point down in a game and it's a little bit too much to come back from. So I think Bills, Ravens, AFC Championship, Bills win. I think it will be the Lions and the 49ers in the NFC Championship with the Niners going on. And then I have 49ers winning the whole thing. So that is my prediction. We'll go through it. I'll probably be wrong, but it's what I think. I think Shanahan's one of the best coaches in football. I think the 49ers win. The AFC could shake out a little bit differently. You never know with injuries and how things shake out. But I have Bills, 49ers play in the Super Bowl. I'm bucking the trend of the two colors and who's going to come out on top, but 49ers winning it all. I'm going a little quick because my computer's dying and I'm seeing that. So we got to kind of keep this thing rolling. College football playoff reactions. We touched on it before. Michigan, this is great for college football. The NIL is working, teams and talent is spreading. Michigan winning for the first time since I think 1997 they split it. In 1948 they were outright champs. Shout out to Ben Bredesen. Right guard, center, left guard for the New York Giants. His brother was on the team. He flew out to see that victory. It was insane to see what they did. Who knows what's going to happen with Harbaugh and this teams in the NFL are calling, seeing if he's available. He's hired an agent to make sure he can see those things through. I think this is almost like Pete Carroll and USC. They win the national championship. There's going to be some backlash from some of the infractions and the sign stealing, and just like USC with paying the players. I think Harbaugh jumps ship and goes to the NFL before some of these sanctions come down on Michigan, because there will be something to come of that. It's an exciting time in college football. The game is getting better. We got to figure out some of this transfer portal and making the bowl games enjoyable again. I think expanding the college football playoffs will do just that. But it's a great time. Football is alive and well. Next up, Derrick Henry. Farewell to the Titans fans. You love to see a player of his stature and the way he handled his whole program and really brought the Tennessee Titans back to former glory. Now they haven't had the same years, but Derrick Henry is one of the shining examples, along with Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley, of what a running back can do for a franchise and why they deserve to get paid like some of the other superstars in the league. He took time to thank everybody by name. It's the way to do it. It's first class. It reminds me of how Sterling Shepard did it in New York and how he went out with the New York Giants. So two guys that are just doing it the right way, and I'm sure the fan bases appreciate that. The next up is this Pat McAfee, ESPN beef, Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy Kimmel, the whole Epstein list. We're not getting into the Epstein list. I think that obviously that will take care of itself, and what happened there, who knows? And everyone that's on those lists will be persecuted, hopefully to the highest extent of the law. But what I really find interesting is the business of sport in regards to Pat signing with ESPN this offseason. He is the future of sports media. If you watch his show, it's entertaining. The fans love it. My boy AQ Shipley's on it every week. Aaron Rodgers has been on every Tuesday. And all of a sudden he got into this beef with Jimmy Kimmel, and it came out that Aaron Rodgers wouldn't be on the show anymore. And then yesterday he came back on the show. It is going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. Obviously, ESPN and the higher ups there have had to change and morph in what media is becoming in this day and age. And Pat McAfee and Barstool Sports of the world have been unfiltered and awesome for people to watch. It's one of the reasons why I debate would I want to go into media or would I not want to go into media, because sometimes you can't say what you want to say and have fun with it because you have to be so buttoned up at all times. So I'm really, really interested to see how this all shakes out. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if he's going to be a media personality going forward, but this debate of what you can have on air and what you can't have on air is super interesting. And the ratings have shown that McAfee is worth the dollars that he is. You look at college football game day, he's made that entertaining to watch. And it wasn't before, but he takes everything up a notch. So I'll be interested to see how this one shakes out. I wouldn't want to say when Pat had to sign that contract and change some of the ways he spoke, he didn't want to give up. And that was an internal struggle for him. You can just see it when he speaks about it. I don't know Pat real well personally, but it'll be interesting to see how he handles this going forward. I think that eventually it's tough. ESPN has to save face. You're with Disney, you're with all these corporate sponsors. It draws a fine line in the sand. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw Pat going back on its own at some point and continuing to build the Pat McAfee brand, just like a Barstool, and just create this huge media conglomerate. And ESPN either has to get on that train or potentially see themselves die off as well. So it's a super interesting time in the sports media world. I've obviously dipped my toe into it this year and had this little podcast. It's not massive, but I'm able to say what I want to say when I want to say it. And that's the beauty of it. And that's why I love doing what I do. All right, that's it for the what's happening. It's time to dive into the end of the Giants season. I know a lot of my Giants fans are listeners here. The first things first is the firing of some of the coaches that we had. First, my offensive line coach, Bobby Johnson. He was an amazing guy, but obviously if the offensive line doesn't perform, someone has to fall on the sword. And you see a guy like Bobby who was friends with everyone in the building. Everyone loved him. It's tough. And the way I look at offensive line play in general, everyone looks at the season and they're like, you guys let up all these sacks. You guys did this, that, and the third. And that's true. I say it as a player as well. We may not be back. A lot of these players that were on the team, offensive line wise. But sacks are such a misleading. I see it on every tweet. That's why they got fired. Go look. If you really go back and look at all of it, not every sack is on the offensive line. There's everyone else involved. The sacks are the ultimate show of an offensive line, but really everyone is involved, from receivers getting open to running backs being helpful in protection to the quarterbacks. So I think fans really need to change their perspective. It's not like an offensive line coach is going to come in there and everything is going to be poof. It's going to be magically better. Everyone plays a role in it. Everyone has to buy into being an efficient offense. And we weren't an efficient offense. You get down in games, of course you're going to let up sacks. And you hate to see one person take the fall because it's not all Bobby Johnson's fault. I'm to blame. Everyone at the offensive line room's to blame. Everyone on the entire offense is to blame. And that is something that I hate to see in the business of sports. Everyone wants one person to pin the blame on. And that's super unfortunate. Obviously, you look at the Wink Martindale situation. That is absolutely wild. We saw pictures of him in Newark Airport heading off to Florida. There was a falling out with him and Dabes. Like I've learned throughout my entire career, you are not going to get along with everybody. And clearly there was a report that came out earlier in the season about Glazer and Dabes and Wink not getting along. And then there were some assistants that were fired. So clearly there was something there. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Wink is going to go on and go a separate way, and the Giants are going to bring in a new defensive coordinator. What I will say is that defensive coordinator is inheriting a badass defense. Our defense played lights out this year, helped carry our team at times. Most times it was one of the bright spots. You look at guys, you get to come in and coach a guy like Dexter Lawrence, who is one of the best, if not the defensive tackles in the NFL. So the coaching tree, we just hired a new offensive line coach from the Raiders, Carm. I don't know him personally. Look forward to getting to know him and seeing his philosophy and seeing what happens there. For me personally, this season was amazing. We had a chance I signed when we were 1-6, knowing what I was getting myself into, coming off an ACL surgery and everything that I said, and we can repeat the clip from when I signed with the Giants of what I wanted to accomplish. I did. I came back in. I helped change the culture of the offensive line room. I helped, steady that ship. I brought leadership. I got to be back with the New York fans and the New York faithful, and that's something that means the world to me. Was my play everything I wanted it to be? Obviously, you wish you could play better. You wish I had a full off season to train, but I proved that I can still play at this level. Now, this offseason will be great for me to go out and get my body right, get my knee. I'm not worrying about that anymore. I finished the season fully healthy. I played every snap but 5. And of those plays, I had 3 of them where my Nike cleats broke. The last game, I had a shoelace pop off and I didn't have a shoe on. So I came out of the game for a quick bit. Hit every practice, hit every game, did everything that I said I was going to do. And I hope that I made the Giants faithful proud. That is something that was hugely important to me. Is going out the way I wanted to. So if that was my last game beating the Philadelphia Eagles, I can sleep well at night knowing I gave everything to the organization. I left it all on the field. I did everything I could to better the organization going forward. And I can sleep well at night doing that. So we'll see how it all shakes out. There's a lot of offseason to go. There's a lot of coaching carousel things to change. You have the draft. You have free agency. I am super excited for the future of the New York Giants. If you look back at 3 plays in the season, and I know you can't magic. Every team wishes they could do this. You look at the Bills, we had a chance to win. You look at the Jets, we had a chance to win. You look at the LA Rams, we had a chance to win. Those 3 games changed. Those 3 plays at the end of those games changed. We are in the playoffs. Games are so close one way or the other. It's crazy to look back and be like, if those 3 plays just went differently, we're in the NFL playoffs. The coaching staff, Joe Shane, organization is going to make the proper adjustments. You know, once a Giant, always a Giant. I truly believe that. And I still will love to be a part of this organization. My goal is to continue to play football and go out there and do it again for another season. And there's no other team I want to do that for than the New York Giants. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for the support this season. I appreciate you guys hopping onto this podcast and being super intentional about supporting the show and what the mission is here. So keep staying in tune. We're going to do more episodes every week. We may morph a little bit and add in some different business ideas. And then we'll continue to talk about these coaches being hired, how the offseason progresses in terms of contracts. There's going to be something crazy happening. We'll be here for it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to treat everybody out there with some respect. Enjoy the new year, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.
I'm really him. Don't believe me? Come and see me. Got 3 wishes from my genie. Now I'm on your local TV. Y'all on tour, got demons. Say she wanna come and see me when I'm in a local city. I'm like, pause though. Please step aside so they can see me. And I walk up in this light. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like